everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of Against All Odds. And if you've listened to my podcast before, I always say at the beginning of every podcast, it's purely selfish, the reason I do this, because I like to speak to inspirational people, and today is no exception. I'm pleased to welcome Craig Jones to the show. How are you, my lovely?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So I actually heard about you first from Alex Myers, who I had on the show a while back, because you coach with Alex, don't you, in the Better Man program?
Yeah, became partners with him inside the Better Man back in April, so about 6 months ago now. But yeah, it was someone that I already knew, that I was good friends with. I was actually part of the program myself for a few years before we partnered up. But yeah, 6 months it's been now, I think.
Yeah. And I always say to people, when people are impacting in a way like you and Alex do, there's always a big why that you do that. You know, because you don't kind of just fall into coaching. You know, nobody just wakes up one day and goes, oh, and I'll start coaching people. So what is your big why?
I've had something in me from quite a young age, like a feeling that I want to help people. I'm not trying to make out I'm some kind of Mother Teresa or something. But genuinely, like from a young age, I have had that urge and that feeling. And when I've sat there and thought about it, looking back, I've been quite open and honest about it when I've spoken previously. And for a hell of a long time in my life, like I was deeply unhappy. I didn't like my life at all. And there's been numerous points in my life where I felt that low and that bad that I genuinely wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, and I mean that. And I know that I'm not the only person that suffered with those same problems. I know there's numerous people out there that go through exactly the same struggles and have the same issues on a daily basis as to what I had for those first 35 years of my life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's where it comes from. Just not wanting people to suffer some of the same things that I did and experienced as that I did. Because it's not nice. Like I say, there's been some really, really dark points in my life, and I genuinely mean it when I say I wouldn't wish it on my own worst enemy. So if I can all through my own experience and the own transformation that I've been through, if I can help anybody that's in a similar position, then it's something I definitely want to do. So
I love that. So you said you'd struggled for a long time. So what was the moment? Can you remember that moment when you thought, right, okay, things need to change?
Yeah. I can remember it. I couldn't tell you what caused it, to be on that specific day that it was. But I kind of know the thought process behind what tipped me over the edge and got me to my version of rock bottom, where it's no, this you rightly say, this has got to change now. So it was back in 2018, summer 2018, June I think it was, and I was an absolute mess at this point, in every way. Physically, I was so unhealthy, bang out of shape. I was over 19 stone in weight at this point.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm surprised Alex didn't show you the photo when he was on. Honestly, I'm sure he's got it as his screensaver because he can't show anybody quick enough when we're together. But yeah, it's not a good look. And yeah, I was seriously unhealthy. I was drinking more or less every day at that point. I've been smoking since the age of 13. I was 35 at this point, so 20 odd years. I had so many bad habits. I was in a job that I hated. I was in a relationship that I wasn't happy in. But there was a couple of things that I think got me to that stage where it was no, this has got to change now. And the first one was, by this point, I had a son. I had a little boy, Jake, who at that time was, I think he's about 3 years old. And like I said, I don't know why it happened on this specific day, but it just suddenly hit me that up to this point, there was a lot of things that had happened in my life that had led me to feeling as miserable as I was at that point. But really, up until that stage, I'd only ever really considered or been bothered about how it affected me. That's
Yeah.
I didn't really. I mean, by this point, I didn't really have a relationship with my parents. I'm an only child, so I've not got any brothers or sisters or nieces or nephews or anything like that. So yeah, up to that point, it only really affected me. And even once Jake had been born, a lot of what I was doing, he didn't really get it because he's like, he's a baby. Do you know what I mean? So if I'm sat there on a Wednesday night on the settee, slouched, just lazing about having a beer, he doesn't know what I'm doing. But it
Yeah.
started to dawn on me at this point that we're getting out of that territory now. We're getting to the stage where he is going to start and understand everything that I'm doing, good or bad. So he's going to start and see all this for what it is. So he's going to like, I was looking in the mirror and absolutely hated what I saw and what was looking back at me. But he's getting old enough now to realize what that means himself. Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm no longer going to get away with all this stuff that I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? How I'm reckless I'm being with like my health and my fitness and my habits and everything. He's going to see everything moving forward. And it just started to dawn on me that I was at risk of behaving how I was at that point and living my life how I was at that point. I was at risk of going on to cause him some of the very same problems that I'd struggled with in my life. Because I'm his dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm the person that he's looking up to as his role model in life. And he's gonna start looking and seeing everything that I'm doing, and everything I was doing at that point was wrong. Everything.
Yeah.
Like I say, I was in a relationship that wasn't good. Arguing all the time, falling out all the time. He's going to be seeing all that. He's going to be around it all the time. I was miserable through being in a job that I hated, but I wasn't doing anything about it. I was still getting up and going to it every day. It was making me even more miserable. Again, that's having an impact on him when I'm getting home and how I'm conducting myself in the house when I get in from work. Yeah, it was just I realized at that point that it needed to change. And then the other thing, like side by side with that, like the other realization that I had is, as I said, like a lot of there was a lot that happened in the lead up to get me to this position that I was in at 35 years of age. And a lot of it stemmed like all the way back to my childhood and the upbringing that I had. But I suddenly started to have the realization like I'm 35 years old now. So whilst I like to think it's a valid reason that when I was a child, there were certain things that I simply couldn't do anything about because I'm a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
can't do anything about it. But that's not the case now when I'm 35. Like, if I continue to live my life like this now, that's a choice. I'm
Yeah.
choosing that. So I was very aware at that point it was going to be really, really hard to turn things round. Like I say, when you're in the mess that I was at that point, there's no quick fix.
No.
And it's going to take a hell of a lot of work to dig yourself out of that hole. But I just started to become more, well, probably for the first time, acceptant of the fact that it's now on me to do something about it if I want it to change. I can't keep using, and I say story, I wasn't using it as an excuse. Like I say, some of the things like I genuinely couldn't do anything about at certain points in my life. But now
Yeah.
I can't say that anymore. I'm a 35-year-old man. So, like I say, if I continue to live this life and set this example to Jake moving forward, that's because I'm choosing to do that. And I didn't want to be like that. Thought scared the shit out of me that I could potentially go on to be the cause of problems in my son's life.
Yeah.
And
It's interesting.
how horrible it was. You know what I mean? I've said earlier
Yeah.
in the call, like some of the feelings that I had, I won't wish on my own worst enemy. So why am I going to want my own son to potentially suffer from some of that? Do you know what I mean? And it really, really like, yeah, scared me.
Yeah. I was about to say it must have scared you because let's be honest, change when you are taking responsibility for yourself, that's what it's a massive step for somebody to go, actually, right, I need to change this. I'm not, being the best version of myself. I'm not looking after myself. That's a big thing to admit that to start with. And then change is scary. So it must have really scared you about your son for you to do that.
Yeah, and it was quite off-putting really when I was looking at it because like I say it was glaringly obvious to to anyone that for me to get out of that hole that I was in, it was going to take months and months and potentially
Yeah.
years. Do you know what I mean? That there was no quick fix to that because, like I say, I'd abused my body for years. Like I said, I've been smoking since the age of 13. I've been drinking from the age of 13. I was taking drugs at the same age. I was actually dealing drugs when I was about 14 in a nightclub. Like I went well and truly off the rails, and it just the older I got, the more I went into like early adulthood, and everything was just snowballing. Like,
Yeah.
year after year, it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And when you've done that all the way up to the age of 35, you can have all the best intentions in the world, but you're not turning that round overnight. That's yeah, you've given years to getting yourself in that state. Therefore, it
Yeah.
goes without saying it's going to take you a hell of a lot of time to get out of it. So yeah, it was quite daunting.
Mhm.
Because I'll be honest, I didn't really know how I was going to do it.
How?
I
Yeah.
knew I
Yeah. I
wanted
was just,
to at that stage, but I didn't really know how, or maybe even have the genuine confidence that I was going to be able to. But that was the first step. It's at least I'm willing. Do you know what I mean? So
I'm
I
with,
haven't got it all figured out. That,
yeah.
but at least I'm committing to saying, look, I'm not willing to go along with this anymore. I'm not. This is not the life that I want for me, and it's certainly not the life that I want for my son. So.
Yeah. Amazing. I love it when people have their moments, of "Oh, I need to change." So you had that moment. What was the next step after that?
So the first thing I did was make the decision to split up with Jake's mum. So I know for a long time that like I shouldn't have been in that relationship. It was no good for either of us. We were both unhappy. It wasn't just me. Um, Again, that's something else that I'd only ever looked at from a selfish aspect and just my point of view. But looking back, like she was every bit as unhappy as I was, understandably, because of what the relationship was like. But up to this point, again, this was something that once I'd had this realization, this was something that just instantly changed in my mind. So I'd had thoughts fleetingly in the past about they should probably split up, and then I'd park them and put them to the back of my head because it just seemed like too much of a mess. And
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so I'd just keep putting it off. Um, but every time I'd had those thoughts, the thing that I really, really struggled with and just could not get my head around whatsoever was trying to contemplate not seeing Jake every day. I
Yeah.
couldn't attain that thought. It's like, no, there's no way that I'd ever be willing to accept that. So I almost, up to this point, had the mindset that doesn't matter how bad this relationship gets, doesn't matter how toxic it is, I'm not leaving it because if I leave
Yeah.
it, that means I'm not going to see Jake every day. But
Yeah.
once I had this realization, I started to change that and thought, right, so if I'm genuinely wanting what's best for Jake moving forward, would that be to stay in this relationship that we know is just no good? It's like I say, it's toxic. It's horrible for everybody involved. Is that the best approach to take, or would it actually be better if I only saw Jake 50% of the time, but that 50% of the time he got the best version of me. He wasn't around all the arguing with me and his mum and everything.
Hmm.
Which is the best?
Yeah.
And obviously it was a no-brainer. So I made it clear like from day one that I would want it to be like that. I'd want it to be 50-50 because as far as I'm concerned, like I'm every bit his dad as you are his mum. We're both his parents, so that's how it's been from day one. So and he's still like that today. I mean, he's just started secondary school in September, so he's in year 7 now. But it's been like that all the way through. We have him 50% of the time, and it has gone on to be miles better for that.
Yeah.
That was the first decision that I took. And then I also, like I say, I was in horrible health at that point.
Yeah.
The decision because again, I didn't know where to start with that. I've been to the gym fleetingly in the past. I might have gone on the odd diet every now and again, but to get from where I was at that point to where I knew I wanted to be was going to be a hell of a long journey. So I also took the decision at that point to hire a PT. So I went to
Right.
PT. That's where the photo that Alex loves so much comes from. First one that I had done when I went there back in June 18. But yeah, that was the first starting point. There
Yeah.
was a lot of other things that needed to be sorted out, but yeah, as a starting point, it's like let's make this environment for Jake better, not just for Jake, for me and his mum as well. Because like I say, we're both unhappy at that.
Yeah.
And then let's start and do something about my physical health. Because at that point, like I say, I was only 35, but you can't continue to live like that for months. Like if I'd have gone into my 40s in that same physical state, I'd have had big problems. So they were the main two focuses for me initially when I first started.
That's amazing. And I think working with the PT as well, I think that's the key, isn't it? You know, because it's so easy to go, yeah, I'm going to the gym, and then 2 weeks later you revert back into old habits. So to have somebody there that's pushing you, and you can walk in and go, right, this is me. Like, I want to help, and it's got to be you that helps me to keep me on track.
Even more so, like over the journey that I've been on over the last 6 years, I've learned so much about the power of accountability, and it's something that we utilize daily inside the Better Man.
Yeah.
Um, so I've always kind of understood right from the beginning of this journey the benefits of it, and that's only got stronger as I've gone on. But even at that point, I knew if I'm going to stick to this, if I'm going to be serious about this,
Yeah.
I need to be held accountable, because I wasn't a man at that point that could trust his own word or be 100% certain that he was going to follow through on what he said he was going to do. I needed that at that point. It's like I needed to put it out there and say, this is what I'm doing. I'm telling people this is what I'm doing. I'm telling you this is what I'm doing, and I'm paying you as well. Because that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's like having skin in the game. It's because I wouldn't. I like to think that I'm a decent person, so I'm not one of these people that I wouldn't like hire a PT and then wake up in the morning, look out the window and go, oh, fuck that, I'm not going today, and just
Yeah.
send a message and fob it.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't do it. I
Mm.
wouldn't. Because at the end of the day, that's their livelihood. Do you know what I mean? So they're relying
Yeah.
on me turning up. So yeah, that was just another level of accountability for me to make sure that I followed through on what it is that I knew that I needed. Because by this stage, it's not something that I wanted. I needed to. I needed to sort myself out at that
Yeah.
point. And that was a way of ensuring that I stuck with it.
Right. Okay. That's good. I like 19 stone. I still can't get over that. I'm going to have to see this photo.
It's horrible. Honestly, it's horrible.
So you've kind of finished your relationship. You've got to the gym. It involves a mindset shift there as well, doesn't it? Because you can't expect to live a different life with the same mindset that you were in before. So how did you go about changing that? Because that's hard as well.
Well, shortly after, like I say, we're talking June 18, when I kind of hit my version of rock bottom and started to make decisions and take steps forward to make progress from where I was. But shortly after, I broke up with Jake's mum and I started with a PT. I started to develop an interest in self-development. So
Right.
I'd start coming across certain videos, whether it be on Facebook, YouTube, whatever, certain influential figures in that area. And it started to really interest me. And
Yeah.
looking back now, I think and you wouldn't think it looking at that person back then, but I think it's always something that's been within me. Because I was so unhappy at that stage of my life.
Yeah.
I had no I kind of always knew where I wanted to go. I knew that I wanted to be better as such. I knew I'd like to improve myself, but even from a very young age, I didn't know what that looked like.
Yeah.
So like when I left school, for example, I had a lot of issues when I was growing up, which led to me being quite disruptive when I was at school, and that just got worse and worse as I went through the years, to the point where when I got to about 14, I got kicked out of school altogether.
Yeah.
I had to go to another school for the last couple of years. That resulted in, when I left school, I did actually sit my exams, but I failed every single one of them, every one. So when I left school, I left with no qualifications whatsoever, and I literally just went out and got the first job that I could get that would give me enough money to go out on a weekend and get pissed and forget about everything else that was going on in my life.
Yeah.
And I hated it, and it made me miserable. And I knew at that point that that's not what I wanted for myself. But the problem was at that stage, I didn't know what I did want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I was very, very adamant that I didn't want to be stood in that factory doing that shit job that bored me to tears and didn't earn me very good money. I knew I didn't want to do that, but I didn't know what I did want to do. So
Yeah.
I think that thing, like with the self-development side of things and wanting to improve or wanting to be better, I do think on some level it's always been like within me. It just
Yeah.
didn't have a place at that point in my life. When I made the decision that I wanted to change and I wanted to start and improve certain things, that's when it started to come to the surface and come out. And then once I started to develop that initial interest in self-development, shortly after, then I started working with my first coach. And I've not looked back since. I've not stopped since. I've constantly been on that journey ever since. There's never been a point since hiring that first coach in self-development that I've not had one, or numerous ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same time, I have coaches always now in all different areas, whether it's business, personal development, finance. I've been part of so many mentorships, groups, accountability groups, you name it. I've been part of God knows how many of them over the last 6 years.
Yeah.
And I'll never stop. I'll never ever
No.
stop because one thing that I have learned over the last 6 years is this journey never ends, ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always, I could live till I'm 90 years old, and there's always going to be things that I can improve, always, and that will never, ever, ever end. And for some people, that can be quite demoralizing, I think, because I think a lot of people are looking for that quick fix or
Yeah.
that plan that'll sort everything. And don't get me wrong, they've got the place, like 90-day plans and things like we even offered like 90-day plans inside the Better Man, but not
Yeah.
with the promise that that will sort everything out and then you just go away and everything. No, no, because it only works while you're working. So it might be a starting point, but then you'll have to continue the work. Like you can go to the gym every day religiously for 365 days and you'll be in absolutely pristine shape if your nutrition's on point and everything as well. You'll be in banging shape. But if you then stop going for the month after that, you'll very quickly go backwards.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? No, nobody will care. Nobody will care that you've been for the last, it's irrelevant that you've been every day for the last year. If you then stop doing the work, you'll stop getting the results.
Yeah.
And that's it in
Absolutely.
any area, like your business. You know what I mean? You can do everything. You can show up day after day after day, posting on social media, doing everything brilliant. And you might get really good results off the back of it. But then if you stop, the minute you stop doing that, you'll stop getting the results that got you there in the
Yeah.
first. So yeah, I'm very aware that it's a never-ending journey. But that excites me. Like I say, a lot of people it does feel a bit demoralizing because they're all right committing for a certain period and think, right, I'll just stick this out for this 90 days. I'll give it everything and then I'll get the result that I want and then everything will be okay. But then
Yeah.
obviously it's not okay because then you stop doing the work. Then you
Yeah.
straight
That's
away
it.
right at the start. But it actually that side of it, like it excites me. The fact that I'm never going to be able to complete it. I'm never going to be perfect. I can always improve my business. I can always improve my personal relationships. So I can always be a better dad. I've
Yeah.
always got the opportunity to be a better partner. That excites me. I like that. Um, so yeah,
Uh,
once I got bitten by the self-development bug, then yeah, it's just snowballed from there.
yeah. It is a game changer. But you're so right. Like loads of people have been in your situation in the past. Do you know what I mean? Where you just go in to work in a job you don't like and things like that. And it's interesting because when I speak to people, I'll say, right, okay, so what would you like your life to look like? I know they'll say as well, I want it to be better or I want to be happier, but nobody can be specific in what that looks like. And I think a lot of people are like that.
I think a good place to start with that, because sometimes it can be hard. Like when you
Yeah,
conversations with people about purpose, like what's your purpose and things like that, and they go, oh, I don't really know. I think the best place to start with that when you're thinking about your life and how you want it to be is if you're not sure what it is that you want, get clear on what it is that you don't want.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
that's an easier question to answer.
yeah,
What is it that you know full well you don't want your life to be like? Like
yeah,
what kind of parent is it that you know you don't want to be? What kind
Yeah.
of partner do you definitely not want to be?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's always a good place to start because it's
Yeah.
a lot easier question to answer. So if you
No,
start
I like
eliminating
that.
things that you don't want,
Yeah.
work from there.
Yeah. I love that. Because you kind of panic people when you go, well, what does that look like? What do you want? You know, because people, it panics people, you know, a little bit. So I get that. So you worked in it was group coaching. I always ask people this. Did you find it easier to be around people that also wanted to better themselves or better their lives?
100%.
Yeah.
They'll benefit from that
Yeah. Yeah.
now. Like we did an event this weekend just gone. So we traveled to Snowdon to do
Hmm.
Snowdon, and it was a mixture of adults and kids,
Oh, wow.
about 15 of us in total. People from all different parts of the UK. And I've done Snowdon. I've been fortunate enough to do it a number of times now. But for some of the people, it was the first time. Like I say, we had kids as young as 7 year old that turned up to do it. Um, and I've been feeling really stressed recently over the last couple of months.
Hmm.
Had a hell of a lot going on in various different areas of my life. And being there, surrounded by those people on Saturday, helped me in so many different ways, whether it was being inspired by them. Because, like I say, there were some people there that really, really struggled with it to the point where it was touch and go at points as to whether they're actually going to complete it or not.
Yeah.
Seeing that they actually did inspired the shit out of me. The fact that they didn't give up, do you know what I mean? And they kept going and they were like each member was encouraging each other and everything. That inspired me no end. Meeting people that I never met before. So some of the people that came, I had seen on previous events that we'd had, but some people were there for the first time.
Hmm.
Getting to spend time with them, getting to learn about them, know about them. There's some people that were even teaching me certain things that I not necessarily heard about or discussed before, but
Yeah.
get time to spend and learn from other people. Um, it was an unbelievable day, and like I say, it's not the first time that I've done that. I've done that particular mountain like numerous times now. Um, but it wasn't about that. It was about the people that I was getting to spend that time with and surround
Yeah.
myself. And I try and put myself these days in those kind of positions as much as I possibly can. Whether it's working with the guys inside the Better Man, like I say, I've contact with them daily, uh,
Yeah.
not in person, but online daily.
Hmm.
And we do have regular events that we hold as well. Um, and I can't put myself in those environments often enough because, like I say, I have really struggled over the last couple of months with certain things been going on in my life, and I'm no different to anyone else. Like the more stressful that life gets, the more wrapped up that you get in problems with business and everything else, the more you can retreat from the rest of the world. And before
Yeah.
you know it, you're just stuck in your own head all the time with all these problems going round and you're trying to figure all these solutions out and you just end up isolating yourself from everyone and everything around you. So to be able to
Yeah.
step out of that on Saturday and put myself in an environment with those like-minded people that are all there wanting to either push themselves or have some excitement in the life, because that's something that often gets neglected as well. The fun aspect of life.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm focusing on business, 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 and then all the other things just get neglected. And the one that gets neglected more than anything is the fun aspect of it. And sometimes you just need to take a step back and go, yeah, but what am I doing it all for? What am I working so hard on this business for?
Yeah.
Well, it's because once I've done it, I'll be able to have this and I'll be able to have that. Well, you can have those things now if you make them a priority and you stop thinking that you have to work 14 hours a day on your business. You can do
Yeah.
that kind of stuff now, and that's what I admire about those people that showed up on Saturday. Because a lot of them, they're busy people. They could have been doing something else, but they chose to take the time out to come along to that event. And again, that's something that I really admire in others, not just in myself. I always want to be in that environment, but likewise, people that are willing to take time out of the schedule and prioritize the things that they say are important. Because we can all say things, can't we? We can all say
Yeah.
that like the most important thing to us is kids and his missus. That's great. Sounds brilliant. But how much quality time are you actually spending with them? Because if the answer to that's zero, it's not really marrying up to what you're saying. So I'm a big believer in like it's what you do that counts, not what you say. It's what you do.
Yeah.
But yeah, in answer to your question, I love surrounding myself with those kind of people. I can't get enough of it. And I couldn't advise it enough to other people as well to get yourself around like-minded people.
I love that because you mentioned about people like working long hours. And let's be honest, in this modern world, everything's a bit hectic, isn't it? Everything, it's like, it's all of a sudden like the modern world's designed for everybody to be stressed out. You know, and I speak to a lot of people that are doing, you know, managers' roles and things like that, where they're working 12 to 14 hours a day. And it's like you say, the fun aspect goes out the window, health goes out the window as well. I notice that quite a lot, you know, oh, I haven't got time to go to the gym now, or I haven't got time to eat healthy, we're just showing something in the microwave or something. But I like the way you work with people because you get them to look at different areas of the life to kind of like balance it out, don't you?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Because
Yeah,
yeah, like we've just discussed, you can, and don't get me wrong, like being hardworking is a very good trait to have.
yeah,
I'd much rather be hardworking than be lazy.
yeah,
So I'm not knocking people that want to work hard, but it's about finding that right balance. And this is where like you do have to get clear on what it is, first of all, that truly matters to you. Because for
yeah.
some people, when you ask them, if you ask them what's most important to them, some people will say it's the business, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm.
We're all different. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah, yeah,
not for us to tell anybody else what their priorities should be in life. For some people, it may genuinely be the business, and that's fine. But what you'll find with the vast majority of people, if you were to ask them that question, they would actually reply saying it was the kids or the missus. But then how they're choosing to live the life doesn't
no,
match up at all. So it's like if that's what you're saying, then something needs to change because like you're spending very little time with them. The time that you are spending with them, you're stressed out or you're not present, you're not really there with them. So
yeah,
and that does lead to frustration because sometimes it is the case that the person is being genuine when they're saying that. The problem
yeah,
is they just can't figure out how to
how,
get out of the cycle. Yeah, exactly. They can't figure
yeah,
out how to get out of the cycle that they're in. And that's one of the things that we look to work with our guys inside the Better Man regularly because it's a common problem. It's one that I struggled with for many, many years.
yeah,
I've always been hardworking. And
yeah,
every job that I've been in, I've always been like, apart from the first ones when I used to work in the factory and everything, that was so bad I couldn't get out the door quick enough. But like I've had other jobs that I didn't necessarily enjoy, like in sales and things like that. But I was still, because I wanted to do well, I wanted to earn good money. I was still the first person in, the last person out every day. So I've always been hardworking. But
mm,
later on in life, that has come to my detriment because it has led to me being moody, frustrated, stressed out. And then that has had a knock-on effect with how I've shown up as a dad, a
yeah,
partner. And it got to the stage where it's like, you can't continue like this. You can't. Again, I'm an example of someone that I was being genuine. If somebody asked me what matters most to me in life, it is my kids and it is my missus.
yeah,
Nothing's more important than them. Like if you were to say, right, I'm going to take your business away, or I'm going to take your missus and kids away, I know which one I'd say. But I was the same at that point. I just didn't know a way out. I thought it was all about, well, just work hard, work hard, work hard, and eventually you'll reach a day where you've reached a certain level, and then you can slow down, and then you'll have enough money, and then everything will be fine, and then you'll be able to spend all the time you want with the missus. It doesn't work like that.
no, no,
Especially when you're driven as well and you have got a growth mindset because there'll always be the next level.
yeah,
If I set myself a target in business, whether it be financial or a certain number of clients or whatever, I'm wired in such a way that I won't be happy with that. I'll just want the next level and then the next level and then the next level. So therefore, I'm always going to be busy. I'm always going to have loads to do in order to move up to that next level.
yeah,
So if I'm gonna say that I'm only gonna spend quality time with the missus and the kids when I've reached a certain stage, the harsh reality is that day's
Happen.
never going to come. So what I'm very conscious of these days is I try and get my priorities right, like when I am planning my days out or I'm scheduling. So I'm always going to be busy. There's always going to be stuff to do inside the business. However, that's not going to come in front of spending quality time with those that mean the most to me. So these days, that's the first thing that gets put in the calendar for me. So I don't get sidetracked by, yeah, but I've got this to do for the bit. Well, it'll have to get done when it can get done outside of that. And I don't always get it right, but I'm
Yeah.
at least conscious of it these days, and I certainly try my best to.
Yeah. Anyway, we're only human, right? We can't get it right every single day.
I get things. Well, listen, I get things wrong every single day, and I
Yeah.
put a post on about this the other week. Like sometimes we're all guilty of it, and I'm as guilty as anybody. Like when you go on social media, a lot of the time we only put the best bits, don't we? When things are going well, or when we're on holiday and we're sat around the pool and the sun's out and everything, it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
But I still shout at my kids. Do you know what I mean? I still lose my temper with my kids. I still have arguments with the missus regularly. I'm normally the cause of them as well. But yeah, a lot of the time we don't talk about that. But yeah, I'm not perfect, and I know that I'm never going to be perfect. And again, something that I'm okay with. But I'm at
Yeah.
least trying to do what I deem to be the right thing for me now. And I know that like I can't keep going round saying that these things are the most important to me in life, but then not demonstrating that with how I'm living my life. That's it doesn't sit right with me. So at least if I'm trying, like I say, I won't always get it right, but at least if I'm making the effort to make sure that my actions are marrying up to my words.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so true. People ask me all the time. Obviously, I do a lot of stress management and sleep masterclasses and everything, and everybody's going, "Oh, do you sleep really well?" Then I'm like, not all the time. Do you ever get stressed? Yes, I do. I am human. It just happens sometimes. But yeah, we're all human, and it just happens. So going back to when you started your journey, I'm thinking of people that are listening to this going, yeah, right, I need to sort my life out. I'm my mindset, my mental health's not great. I need to be fitter and that, everything like that. You do need a little bit of confidence to actually move, don't you?
I don't know about confidence because one of the areas where I think a lot of people are held back is they don't take steps because they say or feel that they're lacking in self-confidence.
Mm.
Self-confidence comes after you've done the thing, not
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
So if you're going to sit around and wait until you feel confident enough to do something, chances are you'll probably never even start.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the thing that I'd say in relation to confidence. But it kind of goes back to just what I was saying just then is, first of all, there's got to be that level of self-honesty
Yeah.
where it is that you are at the minute. Like you've got to be honest about your current situation.
Yeah.
And then you've also got to be honest about what you're like genuinely willing to do about it.
Yeah. And to some level, it's taking responsibility as well.
Yeah, because like I said earlier, like we can all talk a good game. We can
Yeah.
all, and I do genuinely. I put a post out about this earlier on. I speak to a lot of guys week in, week out, and there is a lot that do say all the right things,
Yeah.
but there's no action on the back of it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it to be harsh or to be horrible, but
That's the reality, though.
nothing changes. You know what I mean? So we can all say that we want this, that, and the other, but it's like, what are we actually willing to do in order to get it? So
Yeah.
I can sit here and tell you that I want abs, but if I'm gonna go to McDonald's straight after this, chances are I'm not gonna get them. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't count for anything. It's like, what am I willing to do that backs up what I'm saying? And then the other thing that I think hinders a lot of people, especially like going back to my example, back in 2018. Sometimes I think people are not humble enough to start from where they need to start. I think they get too fixated on like the end goal and the end result, and they don't spend enough time thinking what that's going to actually entail. So, as I said to you before, one thing that helped me is I was very aware from day one that that was going to be a long, long journey to get
Yeah,
from where I was to where I wanted to be. It was going to be
yeah,
a long journey, and I was aware of that from day one. And I think sometimes people go into things thinking it's going to be easier than what it is, or quicker than what it is, or and are not just, yeah, like I say, humble enough to recognize where they're starting from and just take small steps.
yeah. Do you know what? I was going to say that because it's like you'll get people that don't know what they want their life to look like, but you'll get people on the other hand that do know what they want, but it seems like Snowdon, like they're having to climb Snowdon and they're standing at the bottom. So that can be very overwhelming from the start. So I always recommend like, working with people like you and Alex to be able to work out step by step by step because it is overwhelming, at times if you've got this big idea of what you want to change and then you take a few steps and then the fear sets in and it's like, oh, it's too much, it's too overwhelming. But if
Well,
you're
often
working,
the case, isn't it? If you already knew how to do it on
yeah,
your own,
yeah,
you'd have done it, wouldn't you? You'd
yeah,
like to,
yeah,
if that's genuinely something that you want,
yeah,
if you knew how to do it, you'd have probably already done it by now. So that's what makes it a no-brainer for me. And this is not me just talking like as the owner of the Better Man. Like for any, and it kind of harks back to what we were saying earlier on. Like I know there's no end to this journey because I know that there's always going to be room to improve. And that's because I know there's always going to be somebody out there that either knows more than I do or is further down the line and the journey that I'm wanting to take. They're further down that path than me, therefore are in a good place to advise me, guide me, help me, support me. And that's always going to be the case. So for me, it's a no-brainer to look at who can help you figure it out. Because
yeah,
if you could have figured it out for yourself, you'd have done it by now, wouldn't you?
yeah, absolutely. I think people like what you and Alex do there is so kind of important because if we want to learn how to do anything, it's like if you want to learn to drive, you go and say a driving instructor. If you want to learn anything, you go to somebody with the how. And I think, especially how people are so stressed out at the minute and have been for a while, that actually men that come to you, like you can offer them something that they need in their life. Because I always talk about like school days, right? We're taught how to get through exams and not really bothered what happens to us after school, but we never talk about what happens when things go wrong in our life. We're not talking emotional resilience or anything like that. We're not taught about anything, how to make us more emotionally intelligent. So it's not people's fault that we kind of get stuck in this loop because we're never taught it.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of the education system at all, to be honest.
No, I'm not. I'm really not. I mean, yeah, I do believe that if it was taught at a young age, like say if you and Alex were able to go into a school and talk about like setting goals, changing perceptions, dealing with overwhelm and things like that, I think mental health problem would be less in years
Oh
to come.
yeah, I think there's certainly more that could be done at
Yeah,
education at that age. 100,
yeah,
100,
yeah. So I believe that adults kind of come into adulthood and they think it's normal to be in a relationship that they're not particularly happy with or a job that they don't particularly like and to be stressed, and that's considered as normal. So the fact that you and Alex are grouping these men together and saying actually it doesn't need to be like that and we can take steps to make a better life, I think it's absolutely incredible.
No, I'm a big believer that one of the main problems in life is people try and figure everything out for themselves.
Yeah,
And at best, it'll take you 10 times longer. And
Yeah.
at worst, it'll just end up with you just throwing the towel in and just thinking, fuck it, what's the point?
Yeah.
I do genuinely, I see it all the time. And I've seen it in myself as well.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in, I've read a really, really good book recently that's called Who Not How.
Oh,
Can't
yes.
believe I've not read it previously.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yes.
quite a few self-development books, and for some reason I never read that one. Um, but that's the message in that is so true. Like you can get results by flipping that question, and instead of concerning yourself with, oh, how am I going to sort this? How am I going to figure that out? By flipping that and asking, who is it? Who could help me with this? Whose advice
Yeah.
I ask for?
So, so true.
You could end up with results that otherwise you probably would never have comprehended would have been possible for you just by flipping that one word in that question and
Mm.
focusing on who it is that can help get you there. Because all the transformation that I've been on over the last 6 or 7 years, there's no way I'm doing all that like on my own. Like I said, there's numerous coaches that I've worked with, PTs that I've hired, um, people in all areas, whether it be business, finance, therapists that I've spoke to. Yeah, there's no way that I'd be sat here as the half the man that I am today if it
Mm.
wasn't for all the other people that I've lent on, paid, engaged
Yeah.
with, had a conversation with, whatever, seeked out, asked for advice. There's no way that I'd have the businesses that I've got today, and this is all genuine. The relationship that I've got today, I wouldn't be
Mm.
in that relationship today if it wasn't for some of the programs that I've been part of. I wouldn't have. I wouldn't be in the physical shape that I am today, and that's all because I've spent that time thinking about, right, who can help me? Who can help me get me in better shape? Who can advise me on how to grow this business? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so
I love that.
the big problem that we have in today's world. Everybody's trying to figure everything out for themselves and then getting frustrated when they can't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you said 6, 7 years, so like since you started. Do you look back at Craig back then as a different person now? Do you look back and think, oh my God, like, do you recognize what a huge transformation you've had?
Um, I probably don't spend too much time thinking about him, to be honest, because yeah, he wasn't a very happy
Mhm.
person, so I can focus more on the one that I am today. But no, don't spend. I don't know. I think other people probably point it out more. Do you know what I mean? If somebody does see that photo and go, Jesus Christ, you know what I mean? It's like a different man. I don't really spend that much time thinking about it. I'm always really focused on the here and now. I'm always thinking about what the next thing is or where do I go from here. So I don't really spend that much time reflecting and looking back on it. But yeah, when I do, like when I'm doing things like this and I was preparing for this and kind of like going over my journey in my head, and I thought, well, yeah, to be fair, like if we go back 7 or 8 years, I was still in a 9 to 5.
Mm.
I wasn't in the relationship that I'm now in with the woman that I get married to next year, that I bought a
Oh,
house with.
congratulations.
You know what I mean? There was none of that.
Mhm.
I did so yeah, I was in the 9 to 5. I didn't have any businesses. I've got numerous businesses now. Um, some of the places that I've been to over the last few years and holidays that I've had and adventures that I've been on, I've not done any of that at that point. And more importantly, if you'd have told that person at that point that any of this was going to happen, he wouldn't have
You would
believed the word
no,
that you're saying.
no.
Um, so yeah, it has been a truly transformational journey. But as far as I'm concerned, like it's only just getting started. Because like I say, every time you reach a new level, yeah, it's good. But when you have got a growth mindset, you're just then thinking about the next one and the next one and the next one. But I'm sure
Mm.
when I get further down the line, I get to about 60 or 70, and then I look back, then I'm sat there in my little rocking chair or whatever, and I'm back on life. Then yeah, it will have been quite a big journey. But No, it's enjoyable. I like it. Like I say, I get excited by it. I get excited by the fact that there's always room for improvement and there's always things you can get better at. And I'm by no means anywhere near perfect. So I've still got plenty that I need to and want to work on. So
Well, I love that. Absolutely love that. So if people want to contact you about, right, how can I get involved in the Better Man? Where
So,
are you on social media and
yeah, the
what?
Betman's got it's got its own Facebook page and its own Instagram page, but there's also me and Alex that are on there individually as well. So whichever way suits, whether it's messaging me directly, Alex, the Better Man page. We've got an event that's coming up on Saturday, November the 23rd, where we're giving people the opportunity to come and spend a full day with us. So people that are maybe know that they want to take the next step on their self-development journey, but maybe a bit skeptical about exactly what it is that we do or what it entails. We've taken away all the excuses. It's like, right, well, come and join us for a day, spend the full day with us. You get to see exactly what it's like. So that's on Saturday, November the 23rd.
Oh wow.
There'll be loads more challenges and adventures and events that we put on next year as well, because that's a big part of what we do inside the Better Man is, as we've discussed, that community aspect and being surrounded by like-minded people and having that fun and excitement in your life. So there'll be many more events like the one that we held on Saturday at Snowdon for next year. So we're going to be finalising them over the coming weeks. Um, but yeah, whatever's easiest, reach out to me, reach out to Alex, reach out to the Better Man page,
Mhm.
drop us a message and we'll get straight back to you.
Right, Craig, I don't know whether Alex warned you about this question. I ask it to everybody.
He didn't know. He didn't. I'm not prepared for it now either. So
I know
I wish he had done.
I get called all sorts of names when I get asked this question. Craig, tell me 3 good things about yourself.
Jesus Christ. I wish it. 3 good things about myself.
Mm.
Um, 3 good. I'd say I think anybody that knows me would say that I'm genuine.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think people like about me is they know what they're getting. Do you know what I mean? I don't bullshit. I'm genuine. So that's something that I like about myself. Um, I'm
It's a difficult question, isn't it?
see, the thing is, if you ask it about somebody else,
You can say it that really quick.
I could come out with 20 things straight away. Do you know what I mean? If somebody said, "Oh, tell me 3 good things about it," I'll be able to do it easy. But when it's about yourself, it's a bit harder. I'd say um, I'm honest.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm honest. And the other thing that I really like about myself is I'm I'm determined.
Yes, you are, mate, without a shadow of a doubt.
Determined. So I don't claim to know everything. I know I
Yeah,
don't know everything. Um, but I'm willing to do what's required to figure out the answer when I don't. So yeah, I don't just throw the towel in. I'll keep going. I'll keep plodding away until I do figure it out, and then something
I
else
love
comes along that trips me up.
Well, thank you for being such an inspiration. Like your journey is just wow. It's just wow, 19 stone, mate. You've done really well. And I will say, yes, you worked with all them coaches, and I can see that it's been absolutely like transformation for you. And I see that in everybody that works with Alex and you and things like that. But you've got to thank yourself as well because you've put the work in.
Easy to give yourself credit, though, is it? It's easy to give it to someone else. But no, I appreciate that, and yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's been
yeah.
great. I love doing stuff like this. I could talk about stuff like this all day. So no, I appreciate it. Thank you. And I watched some of the other ones as well. So I watched the one with Alex. I watched the one that he did with Dax.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Great what you're doing. So yeah, keep it up.
Thank you. So I recommend any man who's kind of sat there and thinking, right, I really do need to change my life, but I don't know where to start. literally, I recommend Craig and Alex so much, that the work that they do is absolutely life changing, and the results I've seen from their group as well is absolutely amazing. So don't be shy, just get in touch, because both Alex and Craig have been in a similar situation before, so you are not alone. So thank you for joining me, my lovely.
No, you're
Take
welcome.
care.